Exciting time of year, so best of luck to everybody out there. And there's a lot of young men and starting up their football careers, and it's an exciting time for all of us. So good luck to everybody in the state of Wisconsin. Everybody's not going to have the season that they want, but right now we all hope that we surely do. So as we move forward, and then secondly, I would just like one more time to publicly, as we finally get to football and finally get to play the game and start practices, just to thank everybody in Madison, everybody that's reached out to really the staff, their ability to get moving along in life, I guess, if you will, has been unbelievable, and a lot of that has to do with the support of people in the community, and also the same right back from the University of Wisconsin, from the administration all the way down to so many people have touched our coaches and given them the opportunities to again get settled and move into their jobs very quickly. So I thank everybody that has reached out and been involved with allowing our coaches and staff and everybody to get situated and solidified so we can get to this point today. So moving on to football, exciting time of year. It's again, we finally get to play football and start practicing, and I don't know what questions you could possibly ask me today that I have not answered yet, but we'll see what we have. I'm just going to run down a little bit on the summer. Obviously, we're not around the kids too much, but kind of where our kids are and our feeling as we move into it. So expectations are coming out of summer. Conditioning, I believe the strength coaches will do a great job. We'll all know in about 4 or 5 days of exactly where those kids sit, but I feel very strongly with Coach Simon and his crew that they've got the kids where they need to be. We expect them to be in good shape. We expect them to mentally be really on top of their game. I think the kids have done what they're supposed to do and what they say they were going to do as far as prepare themselves in the film room on their own. I feel like I'm sure that's taken place. I'm sure that's happened. I feel very good about that. So that's a big part of what we talked about when we left, was our ability to understand the details of the offense, the defense, the special teams, and then get ourselves in position to, you're not in game shape today, but you do need to obviously be in shape to participate in fall camp. We'll bring in 105 healthy kids to camp, and it's important to bring in 105 healthy kids, and hopefully we stay healthy throughout the camp. That's always the goal. We'll be smart the way we practice. We'll try to get them in and out of things. But obviously we're excited to get going. So there's some times it's opened up to the public. I sure hope people come out and watch the kids, especially on those scrimmages. I think there'll be some fun, competitive times. Obviously there's a lot of competition on this football team throughout the team, and there'll be a lot of battles for spots, and it should be exciting and fun to watch. And we'd love to obviously have you come out when those practices are open and come and support the kids, and we're opening them up so we can let Badger Nation in, Badger family in, and it's important for all of us to be there together at certain times. So excited about that. Position situations, just quickly, I'll be brief here so I can take questions from you. I feel very good with the front seven. It's going to be nice to get Ethan and BK back. That's a big part of this defense. It has been for a number of years, which it's excited to see them. They'll both, Ethan will be playing the F linebacker, which is our field side linebacker, so he'll jump in there head first and be ready to go. Sounds like he's, from the training room reports, he's ready and, if you will, put back together again. So here we go with Ethan. Exciting to have him. I know he's excited to play and compete. And BK on the other side, he'll be playing the B linebacker. It's exciting to get him back there. He's excited also. He looks great. So they're both in some position battles like many other players. The biggest change there, I would say that Ethan is really not going to play inside linebacker. He's going to be more of an outside linebacker. I think that's best for him and where he sits in his career, and he fits it very well for our defensive scheme. A lot of question marks in the back end on defense. That needs to hopefully come a little bit clear quickly. A lot of young men will compete in the safety position. Dez is obviously the staple of that crew, and he's been a very good leader since we've been here. His leadership will be important as we continue to develop these young players. Some older players have changed positions in that spot, so we'll see how that goes. But we've got to get some solid play at the safety spot in camp as we move ourselves into obviously preparing for the first game as we move forward. So linebackers feel very good about it. We all know Chris kind of starts that thing off there at the inside linebacker position, but I think we have some very good players in there. And, Connor will do a nice job, and a lot of kids are moving around in there that have very good summer. So I'm excited about those young men. On the offensive side, talked about it many times, offensive line. Some young men have really stepped up and done some good things since we've been here as far as getting themselves in a position to be prepared to play. Dan at center is huge. We all know I have my feelings with him through spring. I thought he played very well, and he needs to continue to do that. The rest of the front, there's a couple of question marks as we move through. We're still thin, and the opportunity for the young men to come in and step up and make plays. Hopefully there's a couple of young transfer kids that can come in and play for us. Excuse me, not transfer kids, but high school kids that can come in and compete and get into the rotation, so we can be 8, 9, 10 deep, and probably 7 or 8 that we feel very good about putting out there on the field. Tight ends, good players, be a big part of this offense. That's period, end of story. Excited about those young men. Wide receivers, again, we need Jared is a proven player, and we need a young man or two to step up there. Kenzel, again, I think has had a good solid spring, and where it goes from there, we'll see with the other young men, but we've got to have some dynamic playmakers at the wide receiver spot to do what we want to do on the offensive side of the ball. We need a third running back to step up. We know we have 2 very talented young men back there, and have had very good spring balls. I'm sure they've had very good summers, and Melvin and James are excited, but we do need a third back to step up and go in there. And Watts really like to keep him at the fullback position and let him learn and not have to move him around to the tailback spot. So hopefully that can take place. He can do it. He did it some in the spring, but we'd sure like to get a third tailback and leave him there so he can perfect his craft, if you will, at the fullback position. So quarterback, what's left to say? We'll see. Here we go. We'll get him out there, and they'll all compete early, and we'll get it done. Special teams, excited about that. Again, Bill Bush and Jeff Jenick will both coordinate, and they're going to split up those duties. I think that's going to definitely help our staff work and function and move through the weeks in a timely manner, and they'll do a tremendous job. But the high emphasis, the more games I watch in the Big Ten, special teams are big plays, and hopefully in 6 or 7, 8, 10 weeks, we're sitting here and we're talking about us making the big plays that are changing games on special teams, and that'll definitely be the goal. That'll be the mindset as we go through camp and the mindset as we go through the season. So that's kind of where we sit. So from there, I'll open it up to you for questions.
Got microphones on each side of the room.
Gary, who do you see competing at the other inside linebacker spot next to Borland, and what about Ethan? Did you like for him to go outside?
Well, first of all, with Ethan, I think it's important for him. He fits that position so well. He's athletic enough to run in that position. He's physical enough to be able to get up on the end line of scrimmage and be able to play. And he also has very good football instincts. And to be a real good F linebacker, he's got to play in space. He's got to play on the end line of scrimmage. He's got to have a quick thinking kid that can react. And he's been in a lot of games that he could do that. And I think he's a very good tackler. So that was the biggest reasons for moving him out here. I think Landish and O'Neal will come in and compete and be very good inside, and Trotter will also help us at the inside linebacker position. So it's going to be I felt good about that crew coming out of spring football. I really did. I think they're all physical, they're tough-minded, they're a little different than each other. They're in the room every day with Dave, and I think that's a huge advantage to the defensive coordinator being in the room with the middle linebackers. That's kind of how we've done that. So I feel good about it, and we'll see where it goes.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about your early impressions of Melvin Gordon and how excited you are about potentially getting him even more involved this season?
Yeah, well, if you watch Melvin last year on film, he was obviously his extreme speed, his ability to be a game breaker is there. If you get the ball in space, it's going to be very tough to handle. He's proven that at the highest level playing in this conference, and you've seen it. It didn't just show up one week; it showed up kind of week in and week out. So his ability to transform his game from the fly sweep series, where a lot of his big plays came last year, to being in running the power roll successfully and understanding what it takes to get 2 or 3 yards and get the first down versus looking for the home run every single time. I think he made steps in spring moving towards that. I was proud of him. He became more physical. He became more downhill. His ball security definitely improved as he went through spring, and he battled through an injury. All those are huge positives in spring football for Melvin. I think he's going to be a tremendous compliment to James as we move forward. But a big part of our offense, again, explosive player and a good teammate.
Jesse?
Gary, a lot of the players yesterday were tweeting about getting iPads and getting the playbooks on them. How important is that? And, is that something new that you wanted to bring this fall?
Well, it's a big step for us. Technology is important. The biggest challenge probably for the whole football team with the iPads is the head coach learning how to do it. So that'll be a definite challenge. But it opens up a lot of windows. Communication on a day-to-day basis, for instance, right now, the camp schedule's sitting there, a young man opens up his iPad and there it is, and doesn't have to worry about putting it in his locker or wherever it's gonna be, so, but they can go home. The challenge, and this is what I told the kids as we go through, we move through this with these iPads, is if you practice on Tuesday and you go back and then you come back at 6:30 in the morning for our meetings, and you haven't sat down and watched your practice on your iPad and watched you personally and go back through that, then it's really a waste of money, because it's not just to watch and scout teams, it's to watch you and help you prepare and gain a huge advantage, maybe at 10 to 10:30 at night before you lay your head on your pillow or wherever, whatever you're doing, to gain an advantage for yourself personally, which in turn is going to gain a huge advantage for us in the practice field. And then, you know, it's big when it comes to watching other teams, watching opponents, watching cut-ups. But it's, you know, it's a huge advantage. Not many teams have it. And, you know, we're very appreciative of the opportunity that has been given to us by the university to get those.
Rob?
Coach, whether it's spring or whether it's been the last few weeks, and on the outside, you appear to be calm and have an even-keeled demeanor, but can you describe what the emotions are right now inside of you as you get ready to start your first practice, get going with your first camp and your first season here with Wisconsin?
Yeah, very excited. You know, it's anxiety kind of builds up as you go through, and it's different. The difference from spring ball to fall is, you know, I feel like right now that we are a family. I think you're trying to build the relationships, all the things we talked about that you're trying to do in spring, and you're going through that first semester. But right now, it's, you know, this is the 2013 team. They're ready to roll. They're excited about that opportunity. I'm excited about that opportunity. You know, and it is, you know, I'm an emotional guy, and the more, you know, we're together, the more you're going to see that. And you know, I always carry my emotions on my sleeve, kind of, and maybe in a good way, maybe in a bad way, both. But I am very excited about the opportunity to get to the first practice and move through every day. Every day counts, but it's an exciting time for myself, the staff, and you know, I think the kids are ready to roll also.
Coach, what will that second or third receiver opposite of Jared have to do to win that job?
Well, you know, I think the big thing is if I'd say that and sum it up in a sentence or two, it would relieve the strain from Jared being double teamed. You know, that's got to be number one, and it's not going to happen unless that young man can make plays. So we've got to have somebody we feel good that can. That I'm not going to say he's got to be able to stretch the defense, or he's got to be this great route runner, and he's got to do something just you know, down those lines. Yeah, we want that, but at the end we've got to have a playmaker. We've got to have somebody on 3rd and 9 that's going to get, you know, 9 yards and an inch if that's what it takes to get us the first down. We got to have somebody that's going to be able to catch contested balls, because it's you know, going in the backyard and playing catch is one thing. Now getting yourself in a position of making a big play when you got to have it, and it's a contested ball, and there's 4 sets of hands around the football, and our 2 hands have got to go up and get it somehow, some way. That's going to be that'll be a big key factor to it. But I can't, you know, I'm not going to say it has to be a super fast guy or this unbelievable route runner. There's kids in this program that can do it, and if they put in the time and they wrap their arms around the situation, I think we'll have success. But the key is going to be, have they prepared themselves enough to allow Coach Beatty, Coach Ludwig to now get involved in their lives in the football side of things and mold them and get them fine-tuned to be able to compete at the highest level.
JP?
Coach, with so many new plays and formations on the defense, how nice is it to have 3 seniors up front that can hopefully guide any young or inexperienced guys?
Yeah, it'll be, that's big, and I feel the front 7 on defense, and I'm going to say this, is we'll walk in with that front 7 on defense. My guess is that there will be a good solid 2 deep of 1s. And, you know, you got Tyler's back in at the defensive end. There's so many kids rolling through there. So it is important to have the experience that we have to go back there, and all of a sudden now Warren's going to be that much better. Gilbert has that much of a chance to turn up and be better at the nose guard position. So, you know, there's a lot of competition there. We need solid 2 deep. To answer your question, I think the experience there is deep. The challenge is just what you said, not just on the defensive front, but to allow the young kids to be able to be prepared, to be able to execute at a high level on defense, wide receiver, wherever they need to be every single day, and they can't do that if they're not mentally ready. And hopefully the Big Brother program, as we've gone through summer, has allowed these kids to get into the meeting room, let them understand who we are in the weight room, let them understand what the expectation levels of them are on the field, but most importantly, they got some X's and O's in their minds that they can go out and, you know, be able to play at a high level. We'll take the last 15 minutes of the first 5 practices, and it will be reserved for not all newcomers, but young players in the program. That's an important 15 minutes to impress, and hopefully a couple guys come out of that and get themselves in the traveling squad or even better as we move forward.
Gary, you mentioned Brendan Kelly and Ethan Armstrong at those outside spots, but I know Dave says he likes to use a lot of guys, so who would the guys be who are competing for backup spots there, or even to give those guys a breather?
Beagle and Jesse Hayes are gonna go like crazy in that situation, and they want to be on the field. They got a little bit of a head start scheme-wise because they played all spring, so they'll get some shots there. Pudo's back, whether it's going to come back and be a safety, he's going to come down and play the F linebacker. They're kind of in the mix as we go through there. It's going to be very, very interesting. And Joe's, he deserves to play after spring. I mean, he came in, he played the F linebacker, he started inside, he moved to F, he played some B, and everywhere we put him, he just simply made plays. So he's going to be right there with Ethan, and it's going to be interesting with him at the F linebacker. He's young. Obviously didn't play a lot last year, involved on special teams and did some good things, but he's a very athletic young man, and his expectations of himself are high, which I think we all know that if we know him at all. So that's a handful of kids, and we'll see what the young guys can do. I don't know what's gonna take place. Can Alec come in, and is he prepared to involve himself in that? Well, that ball's in Alec's court now.
Coach, whether it's the freshmen coming in or the transfers that you have, guys that will be trying to compete for jobs, more mental, physical, what are you looking for most to see if a guy can play right away and compete for a job?
Well, first of all, if you by position, if you look at a young man, he's got to be physically able to handle it. You don't want to put him in a bad position to have him not have success early on just because he's not strong enough, he's not big enough. So the skill position kids have a better opportunity to come in and compete right away, and they are expected to do that. So we'll look at those kids early. I would say the next thing is mentally, can they handle it? And when I say it's not just the X's and O's and understanding, they can be able to handle camp, the fatigue of it, the Division I grind, if you will. Okay, football is not a convenient sport. You don't wake up and just say, this is going to be a good day and a fun day to play football. It's really hard to do sometimes, and that's an adjustment that's much harder for some kids than others, and that is a challenge for the youth to be able to deal with the grind. And they'll be good day 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then we'll see as we go through it. Can they handle it mentally, and can they handle it physically? And I can't say one's more important than the other. Both of those have to be, for us to put a young man out there at a young age or as a newcomer, we've got to believe that he's going to support and help the rest of his team to victories.
Coach, are you pleased with how the coaching staff that you kind of assembled, some that you knew before, you had 2 holdovers here with Hammock and Strickland. Are you pleased with how they've kind of come together in the first summer?
Yeah, I really am. We've had quite a few activities for the coaches and different get-togethers with the families. It's been great. Another important part of this whole puzzle is the wives and the children that are involved, and this group of wives has really meshed well. I think they're excited. They're veterans, which is important for the wives, so they understand the drill. But this coaching staff, they go about their business, and as a head coach, it's nice when you're in the office, and for instance, a couple days before camp, and we got to go fly across the country for some media things that we do a couple times, and I don't bat an eye that I know the things that are getting done in the office are the things that are supposed to be getting done in the office, from the recruiting side, from the offensive side, the defensive side, the special teams, taking care of the kids in the program, which is always the #1 priority. It's happening, and I'm proud of the way the coaches have handled that. And again, it's a veteran staff. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it is.
Gary, when you talk about recruiting, you talk about selling Wisconsin's academic reputation. You mentioned that a lot. I'm just curious, do you see much of a connection at all to a kid, maybe might not be the smartest kid, but he grinds his way through the classroom? Do you see a connection between that and whether he'll grind on the practice field for you?
Yeah, I would agree. First of all, I think that I'm not gonna. It's important for me to always say, when we're at Wisconsin, all we got to do is show people things. We don't really have to sell this program. We just have to show them who we are, what we're about, and it's the same thing on the academic side of things. If a young man really cares about academics and it matters to him, he's going to walk in here and he's going to understand this is powerful. That degree is a powerful thing to have for the rest of your life, and it really does. It truly matters. And it's gonna be here for a long, long time, and it's been here for a long time before we got here. I know that, and it's a special thing to have. But the ability to grind is important in academics, and when I say that, we'll take a young man and we have expectation levels of GPAs. So if I expect to be a business school, for instance, maybe I have to be a 3.7 GPA. I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers out there, what it has to be, but if my goal is to be that, then he needs to grind away and get that done. Whereas another young man, speaking quite frankly, if he's a 2.8, 2.7, that might be what he's giving you all he's got academically, and that's a grind for him. So I think identifying kids that will grind academically, you can't just set a standard and say, okay, this is what we are and where we're going to be, and you got to hit that. It's identifying what they can do, what are they capable of, and then holding them accountable to it. But grinding in the classroom is something that you're going to have to do here, or you won't succeed. And I think it does carry over to the football field. I think it does carry over to their social life, absolutely. And I think in turn, it helps you win games.
Coach, you said you wanted to find a third running back with moving Jeff Lewis to safety, Vontae Jackson being injured, wanting to keeping Derek Watt at fullback. It sounds like Corey Clement and who are going to be competing for that job?
Corey has some big shoes to fill, sounds like to me, right now. So there's, we'll try a couple different young men in those spots as we go forward, but really Corey is big in that situation. He has a purpose, he came here for a reason, and we're never going to play a young man when he's not ready, but that's the guy right now. We're looking at jump in there and say, you're going to be that third guy, and if he can, he can. If he can't, then again, as always, you will adjust. That may require a position move. That's what all those long staff meetings we have, is to make sure we're putting the right kids in the right spots. But right now, we're expecting that to be Corey's show, and we'll see if the young freshman is ready to handle it. It's a lot of pressure. That's one of the reasons he came to Wisconsin.
How does a third running back manifest itself in your offense?
Well, number one, you're going to have to be able to. I foresee Melvin and James being on the field together at times in this offense. So there you go. There's 1 and 2, and so you're one guy away from having that package with you, if you will. But we've got to have 3 quality running backs. This is a running offense. It's a powerful offense. It's a grind, and you've got to understand that you've got to have multiple reps as you move through. I think there's enough room for 3 backs to get reps at times. If there's 2 highlighted kids and they stay fresh all year long, what a great opportunity for Corey to learn, watching those kids go through it, and if he can get the travel experience, if it's warranted to give him that, and get in on some special teams and then get into some offense, that would be, in my opinion, a productive year.
Gary, you mentioned your Big Brother program. What do you think Kurt Phillips can do for McAvoy, and the fact that they're competing for the same job, does that make that delicate at all?
Yeah, it does, and I want that to be delicate. It's important because those situations are going to arise very soon, and somebody's going to turn around and win the job, and there's a relationship, there's a friendship that's built. It's a competitive situation, and we ask these kids to compete at the highest level with each other every single day. And there is going to be a winner or a loser. There's going to be a first team. There's going to be a second team. And I don't expect that to be easy to deal with, but it has to be dealt with. And we're not going to shy away and put Kurt with somebody else because those 2 are competing at that position. And quarterback is always unique. It's a different animal when you're talking about number of reps and the starter and all the stuff that comes with it. But Kurt will handle it very well, and I expect Tanner to handle it very well. We'll see how Tanner handles it and move forward. I know how Kurt's going to handle it. Kurt's been through so many situations and so many scenarios in his career, and Wisconsin football, the state of Wisconsin, is so important to him. He'll handle everything the right way.
Jesse?
I know there isn't much more you can say about the quarterback battle at this point, but do you feel like Tanner's coming in here having to play catch-up just because Joel and Kurt have been here before, or is it more of a clean slate just because there's a new playbook for everybody involved?
Well, no, he's definitely, hopefully he's closed the gap. He's got to shrink the gap between what he knows and what the other guys know. And Joel and Kurt have been on the practice field for 15 practices. They had the 3 weeks while we were still in school. I know that they worked hard at that point to continue to see what they did right and what they did wrong. Their challenge was, like everybody else, to understand the details. So Tanner has a lot of ground to make up, just like any junior college kid does. How much Tanner's handled that since he's been here, we're about to find out.
Back?
With the Big Ten titles, I'm sure you've heard it year in and year out here. Do you feel any pressure going into your first year with what they've accomplished here in the last few years?
No, I don't feel any pressure at all. I know that the young men on the team have high expectations, the coaches do. Wisconsin football has high expectations of themselves. I think we need to understand exactly where we sit and the position that we're in, and to get back where we want to be. And everybody in the Big Ten wants to get to the same place. They all want to get back to the Rose Bowl, and to get there, you're going to have to play at a high level, and you're going to have to 500 in the league. I don't think it's going to get you back to the Rose Bowl. And the bottom line is, last year that championship game was unbelievable football game. It was. They were physical, they were tough, they were well prepared, they did what they had to do. But to get back into that game is the challenge. And you've got to win. You've got to win on the road, you've got to protect your home turf, you've got to play at a high level. And so many of these games, again, go back to one possession, which in a good league, that happens. Some leagues, maybe they're not as good, and one team just runs the table and kind of blows everybody away in the second half and away they go. And it's, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's cleaner. Not so fast in the Big Ten. Just watch the games. And so you're going to have to be able to make 10 special plays if you want to be a great team. And somebody's going to make those 10 special plays. And these kids expect to win, which is great. It's awesome to walk into a program where the kids look at themselves and they expect to win, where they jog out of the tunnel every single day and there's not one ounce of them that's intimidated by anybody in the country. And we'll never come out of the tunnel and be intimidated against anybody, and or intimidated by anybody. We'll expect to win. Does that mean you win? No, but a lot of it has to do with the experiences of winning close games, and there's also a lot that can go to losing close games as far as moving yourself forward, as a program. And the fact that these kids have accomplished so much is, I think, a huge positive.
Gary, from what happened with Monty last year and Tanner this year, do you put more emphasis on, maybe protecting these guys when they're not on the football field?
Well, the key thing is how. Understand your surroundings always, understand where you're at, the direction that you're headed. Do we educate them on it? Yeah, we talk about it all the time and try to make sure that kids understand their surroundings. They also have to understand who they are, and they're football players at the University of Wisconsin, and that's a pretty powerful thing to be. And you always got to remember that. So we talk to the kids about it. We talk to them about a lot of things. Social media, understand what's going on in their lives, the direction that they're headed. Where are you? Where are you headed, basically? Are you making the right decisions in life every single day on and off the field? But the big cities, small cities, 40 people, 4 million people, there's going to be issues. And it's unfortunate now that there's been 2 incidences, but this is an unbelievably safe community, and I think we all know that, and it's hopefully that's the end of it.
It seems that defensive coordinators, the stereotype, they fit into a yeller, screamer, motivator guy, or maybe a mad scientist. Where does Coach Aranda fit in there, and how much is he a reflection of your coaching style philosophy, I believe?
He's the maddest scientist, and he doesn't reflect my coaching style hardly at all. I'm much more emotional, especially when I was a little bit younger. It kind of hurts to move like that these days, so I can't move around that quick as I used to. But he is a lot like Andy, I would say. Their ability to, they're going to dissect, they're going to look, they're going to see, but the way the kids respect them is pretty special to me. And it was different when Dave came in. I remember last year, he basically at one point was saying, hey, you know what, guys, we need each other. It was halftime of a game, and I forget what game it was, but we all need each other. I need you guys right now. You need us as coaches, and I think that is, if in a nutshell, what he kind of does is he gets them to believe that and gets them to understand. And getting to believe is not the right word. That's what has to happen for a defense to be great, and he goes about it his way, and it's unique. It's very interesting to watch. But when he needs to get after him, trust me, he'll get after him. As far as our defenses, the scheme-wise, it's definitely a mix of what Dave has had experience with, what we continue to learn every single year, and what I've believed in for a number of years. And then the key to that is put that all together, mold it, and then get the best 11 kids for that season out there on the field.